Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's PowerBrew webinar, 5 personal changes that can make you become a better leader. I'm Libby Trossel of Advantage C at Carroll Community College, and as you can see, today we have video. We're sharing our faces with webcams today. So that's something different for us. I think we've done it one other time. So we got out of our pajamas today, and we're presenting actually in work clothes. So, so before we get started on today's webinar, okay, one second, technical problem. There we go. Okay. As I said, I'm Libby Trossel with Advantage C, and presenting with us today as our co-host is Michelle Sharp.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
I'm not sure how Michelle got out of having her face on the screen. I don't know. She's got some pool around here or something, I guess. I don't. So anyway, so today's webinar is brought to you by Advantage C. And for those of you that are not familiar with Advantage C, there's a slide on your screen that gives you some overviews, or an overview of the services that we provide. But this is the time of the year where you're probably being asked to come up with your strategic goals for next year. We are, believe it or not, nearing the end of the year. And so as you're preparing for that, I want you to think about, do my employees have the skills and knowledge needed to execute the plans for our organization or for our unit? And if they don't, it may be time for you to give us a call at Advantage C. We can help you assess the level of skills and knowledge of your employees, and we can help you create a plan to get them where you need them to be. They say that success, business success, is about 15% strategic planning and about 85% execution, and the execution is carried out by your employees. So they're really critical for you meeting your organizational goals. So if you need some assistance with that, Advantage C is here to help area businesses. Logistically, let's take a look at how things are going to work today. So if you take a look at your screen, up in the upper right-hand corner, you have an orange arrow. If you click on that arrow with your mouse cursor, that will expand and collapse the control panel. The control panel has an area on it where you can submit questions to us. We would love to have your questions throughout the webinar. We like to keep this interactive, and I know Martine's here with all her expertise, and she really wants to hear from you. So please, please send questions throughout the webinar. We'll answer them as we go through the webinar, and also there's time at the end for question and answers where we'll also dedicate some time to that. Additionally, you can control where our faces appear on your screen. So if you take a look at the second arrow on the PowerPoint slide there, there is a webcam menu. If you open up that menu, you can have us on the left, the right, the top, or you can just not see us at all, which is fine. We will not be offended because we will not know. Anyway, so I just thought I'd explain that feature today since that's something new. Whoop. Sorry. And so now, on to our featured presenter. So Martine Foreman is one of our talented adjunct faculty members, and Martine is very accomplished. She is a writer, a speaker, a lifestyle expert, a health coach, and a digital influencer. She is the co-founder of Candid Bell, which is a lifestyle blog dedicated to helping mothers build better relationships, create healthier, happier lifestyles for themselves and their family. Through her content creation, she does coaching, offers digital products, does speaking, hosts events. She's committed to helping working mothers create a lifestyle they love rather than settling for something less. And when she's not busy helping other working mothers, she enjoys time with her family, reading a good book, watching her favorite crime show, which is something I just learned yesterday, which is, I'll have to talk to her a little bit more about that. That's kind of intriguing. And drinking a glass of wine. And she is a proud graduate of Syracuse University and the University of Maryland. She lives right here in Carroll County and in the suburbs of Baltimore with her husband, her 3 kids and their sassy cat, Pepper. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Martine.
Hi. Good morning, everyone. I don't think I unmuted, so hopefully you hear me now. Thank you for joining PowerBrew today. I'm excited to speak to you guys and share a few strategies that will help you make personal changes that will result in better leadership. So I want to start off first. I'm big on quotes, so I want to share my first, one of my favorite quotes with you. It says, "Work hard at your job and you can make a living. Work hard on yourself and you can make a fortune." And I think in large part, that's what this PowerBrew is about, learning how to work hard on yourself. I think sometimes we get so focused on strategic planning and the numbers and building our leadership skills, and although all of those things are really, really important and they're critical to the success of your organization, what's more important than those things is working hard on yourself and developing personally, because when you do that, you're able to bring that to your organization, bring that to the team that you work with, and it ultimately helps you become a better leader and it helps your organization succeed. So typically, when we think about leadership, we often think of the not so great leader, which is someone who is really giving us marching orders, someone who doesn't want to be challenged very much, someone who may not be open to change because they've been doing things a certain way and they're a little resistant to change. So we don't always have the best image in mind when we think of leaders. And there are a lot of myths associated with leadership. So I want to, sorry, had to look at my notes. I'd love to act like my memory is as sharp as it once was, but it isn't. So every once in a while, I gotta look down. So really talking about what makes a great leader. So I think we can all agree that when we think about what makes a great leader, we think of honesty, commitment, respectfulness, confidence, being innovative, having positive energy, integrity, and you'll kind of see the list goes on. And of course, there are several other qualities that I didn't mention on this list, but those are the qualities that come to mind when we think about leadership and we think about what we want to see in a leader, someone who's leading us, and hopefully what we would like others to see in us as leaders. So why will personal development make you a better leader? I think one of the most important reasons why is because people buy into the leader before they buy into the vision. So think about yourself and think about visions that you've bought into, brands that you love. Oftentimes it has a lot to do with the person that's in a leadership role. So when you are trying to lead an organization, even if you have incredible vision of what you'd like to see for your company, if you can't get your team members, your employees to really buy into who you are as a person, it becomes incredibly difficult to get them to jump on board and buy into the vision that you have for the organization. And the way to get people to buy into who you are is for you to work on yourself and work on developing as a person and work on developing qualities. I know with the poll, we looked at to see how many of you are currently in leadership roles, and it seems about 78% of you are, which is the majority of the people on this PowerBrew. But even if you're not currently in a leadership role, you could be at some point. And even if that's not in your plans, the reality is what we're going to share today is really to make you a better person. So it will apply whether you're currently in a leadership role or not. So there are a lot of myths about leadership. Here are a few of them. That leaders are born, not made. That leaders have all of the answers. That they're typically extroverts. That they always work smarter, not harder. That they don't have time to worry too much about, I like to say the touchy-feely stuff, but worry too much about emotions. That they always have to be on, which means they're always high energy. They're always really on top of everything. That they only want people to follow them, and that they're incredibly resistant to change. But I think instead of focusing on myths, we really need to focus on what are the truths about leadership. And I think a lot of what I just mentioned is not really what we should think of when we think about leadership. So for example, that leaders are born, not made. You can develop into a good leader if you're willing to put in the work and it's something that you're passionate about and something that's important to you. I don't think that people necessarily have to be born with leadership skills. I don't think that I was born with the leadership skills that I have. I think those are things that I've worked on over time and that I'm still consistently working on. So it's important for us to know that we can make ourselves into the leaders that we'd like to be, that leaders always know the answers. One of the most important things about having a team is knowing that you don't have all the answers. And that's why you have a team, because there are people that have areas of expertise that you don't have. There are people that may see things from a perspective that you don't share. And it's important to know that you don't always have all of the answers and that you rely on your team. Leaders can be extroverts or introverts. And sometimes the people that you think are extroverts actually are not. My best friend calls me a closet introvert because she says most people meet me and think I'm extroverted, but because she knows me well, she knows that that's not true, because I get most of my energy from being by myself, and just that's how I decompress and I get reconnected and get re-energized and to do the work that I do. So leaders can come in all shapes and forms. A lot of leaders do understand a lot about emotions. They're not, people that don't think emotions are important. One of the best qualities I think you can have as a leader is strong emotional intelligence, because it really does allow you to understand the dynamics of your team a little bit better. It allows you to connect to other people in a more powerful way. So having that understanding and appreciation for what role emotions play in the work that you do is really important. And I could honestly go on and on in terms of trying to debunk the myths that I listed earlier, but the important thing and the important myth that I want to tackle today is that leaders don't change. And that is absolutely not true. My guess is if you're watching this PowerBrew, it's because you have some interest in changing. And it doesn't mean that you don't think you're a great leader, but we can all change a little bit. We can all learn something different about ourselves, about others. We can all do things to enhance the quality of our experience as leaders, enhance the quality of the experience that our team members have, and we can all make changes that can help bring our organizations to the next level. So I think it's important for us to know that change is absolutely possible, and that leadership is about more than the boardroom. It's about more than the long meetings. It's about more than the strategic planning. It's about more than the numbers. It's about recognizing that we have the power to change, and that through that change, through that personal change, we really can have a very significant impact on the success of our organizations. So these are the 5 personal changes that I'm going to talk to you about this morning that can make you a better leader. Making time for creativity, focusing on wellness, engaging in service, trying new things, and engaging in cultural experiences. So I'm going to touch on each point a little bit. Feel free to ask questions throughout if you have questions. And let's get started. Oh, and I have a lot more quotes. I love them. So what we fear doing most is usually what we most need to do. So as you move through the rest of this PowerBrew with me, I want you to really try to be self-aware and think about moments where I may say something and it incites some sort of fear in you, meaning that you think about it and you're like, I'm uncomfortable doing that. I don't see why I should do that. I don't want to do that. I'm happy in my bubble. Because usually when we think about things that we fear and we experience some sort of resistance towards doing something, chances are those are the things that we need to do the most. So author Stephen Pressfield has a book called The War of Art. And in the book, he talks about resistance, which is really a force that prevents us from doing the things that we need to do. And he says resistance often shows up as fear. And the more resistance you feel towards doing anything, the more critical doing that thing is to the evolution of your soul. So it really kind of goes in alignment with this quote, which is really like, If you feel a lot of fear about doing it, if you feel a lot of resistance, then it's probably something you should give a try. It's probably something that you need to do. And it doesn't mean that doing it is going to transform your business overnight. It doesn't mean that doing it is going to instantly transform who you are as a leader, but it could mean that doing it is going to be an experience that may impact your life in a meaningful way, meaning that it may impact the way that you view things, the way that you see things, the way that you kind of move through the work that you do. So getting creative. So usually when we think about creativity, people usually either think they're creative or they think they're not. And if you think you're not creative, you don't really have any interest in trying to become creative because you think maybe that's just something that comes naturally to some people. But I think creativity is something that we can work on throughout the course of our lives. So when you take the time to develop creativity, you're able to generate more ideas. So when you're brainstorming, you're trying to come up with a new project, you are trying to change the direction of something you're doing at your organization, it's really important for you to be able to tap into your creativity so that you can brainstorm. Being creative also helps you get in touch with your unique perspectives. So oftentimes the way that we see things and the way that we view the world may not be the way that other people see them. People might think our way of seeing things is a little weird or a little quirky or whatever word people would like to use. But the truth is that's just what makes you unique, and it's what makes you you. And that is a part of being creative, because that's your own way of seeing things. People who are creative tend to see the connections between things a little bit more clearly. So they see how one thing has an impact on another, or how one decision can kind of change a particular project or a particular direction that the organization is going in. Creativity allows you to be more innovative. It helps you get more excited about the work that you're doing. And when you're able to tap into your creativity, you're a little bit less afraid. And the more you're able to tap into your creativity and share ideas and embrace your unique perspectives and see the connections between things, the less afraid you are to express and communicate those things with others. So those are the reasons why getting creative is very important. So creativity is just connecting things. When you ask creative people how they did something, they feel a little guilty because they didn't really do it. They just saw something. It seemed obvious to them after a while. And I love this quote because it's so true. I think it shows that creativity is not always what people typically think of when they think of creatives and they think of people who are artistic and that type of thing. But creativity is really just connecting things. And I think it's a skill that if you work on it, after a while, you do start to see things. And sure, some people will ultimately be more creative than others, but I think it's it's something that's within all of us, and it's something that we can continually work on to become better leaders. Focus on wellness. So I'm pretty sure at least one person is like making a funny face now because they're tired of hearing people say how exercising and living well is going to make you a better person. So for that one person, please don't ditch me yet. Hear me out. So focusing on wellness. So the truth is, whether you don't want to hear it or you've heard it too many times, focusing on your personal wellness is critical. And honestly, I feel like it can probably have one of the most significant impacts on your leadership style. When we neglect to take care of ourselves, when we're in poor health, when we're not living well, it will ultimately impact every relationship in your life, meaning your relationship with your family members, with your friends, with your spouse, and it will begin to leak into your work. So it'll impact your relationships with your colleagues, with your team members, and you may not notice it at first, but the truth is there are certain things that we need to function at our best. And if we don't focus on those things and make an effort to make those things priorities in our lives, then it does begin to impact the work that we do. So making self-care a priority. And self-care can mean anything. It really is something you have to determine for yourself. So I know sometimes people tell me that they think self-care just means getting massages or, you know, those type of things. And although that is part of self-care, And I do that for self-care purposes. I also think self-care can mean watching a game and grabbing a beer with the fellas. It can mean planning a girls' night out. It can mean getting the massage. It can mean reading a book by yourself for an hour uninterrupted. So self-care means different things for different people, but you have to figure out what that means for you and what helps you feel re-energized, rejuvenated. So sometimes for me, self-care is hanging out with the girls. And, you know, just kind of relaxing. And the next day, I kind of feel like I have a little bit more energy. It becomes easier for me to get my work done. It becomes easier for me to manage my kids, to juggle the household, all of those things. So you want to make time for self-care. You also need to see the value in being fit. So I know that you may not be able to hit the gym 6 days a week, but the truth is, if you make an effort to incorporate some type of fitness into your daily lifestyle, whether that's walking for 20 minutes during your lunch break or walking with your family after dinner when the weather's nice outside, but finding small ways to focus on fitness is really important. It makes you feel better. It gives you more energy. It allows you to think a little bit more clearly, and it helps you make better decisions at the workplace. Understanding how nutrition affects you. So I think it's really important for us to understand what we put in our bodies has an impact on how we interact with other people and how we feel throughout the day. So if you're eating foods that just don't make you feel good, it will affect the level of energy you have when you give a presentation. It will affect how much energy you have midday. If you're craving sugar in the afternoon and then you crash after you eat all the sugar, that has an impact on the work that you do. So you really have to think about staying hydrated or think about making healthier food choices. And listen, I'm all about indulging from time to time. I'm not going to give you a health coach spiel that makes you think I never eat ice cream, because that's not true. But I do think we have to be a little bit more mindful of the things that we do eat, and we have to pay closer attention to how those things make us feel, how they make our stomach feel, how they make our energy level feel, and how that impacts how we feel throughout the course of the day. Appreciate the connection between rest and performance. That is so, so important. I know a lot of people in leadership roles do not sleep enough. And some people are working really, really long days, and then after they get home and the rest of their house goes to sleep, they jump back on the computer. And we live in this day of technology where we're almost too connected. So we're constantly checking email, and sometimes people wake up to go to the restroom in the middle of the night and they notice an alert on their phone and they need to look at it. And I think it becomes unhealthy at some point. So we really have to figure out ways to get more rest. And if we have the time to get rest and the problem is actually getting to sleep or staying asleep, then we have to make the time to make a appointment to see our physician and find out, do we need a sleep study, or is there something else we should be doing to get more rest at night? But whatever it is, we have to focus on it a little bit more and make it a priority. And then just find more ways to connect with others. So when you engage in new activities, whether it's biking or hiking or taking fitness classes or trying a dance class, those type of things, you do get to meet new people and you get to connect more with people, and you never know how those new connections can impact your leadership style, your role as a leader, and how those connections could benefit your organization somewhere down the line.
Martine, I'm going to pop in here with a question, if I may. So one of the things that's striking me as you're talking about all this is that leaders may have a shortage of time. I know that I struggle with time to do, my intention is good. I would like to do a lot of the things you're talking about, but I have absolutely zero time. What do you say to me?
I think that's a great question, and I think that's a very valid point, because even when someone makes a suggestion to me to add something to my schedule, sometimes that's the first thing that pops in my head, like, where am I going to find the time to do that? So I think one tip that I have is to take small steps and just pick a small change that you can make. I don't think, if you don't have time, for example, to work out 60 minutes a day, then just walk for 10 minutes during your lunch break, or turn family time into fitness time. And when the weather's nice, take a walk with your family after you guys eat dinner. But try to find small ways to incorporate it into your lifestyle instead of setting some massive goal that you won't be able to accomplish. So I think whether it's fitness or it's something else that I covered during this PowerBrew, I think it's really, really important for us to focus on the little things that we can do and the small pockets of time we can find to make small changes. And as we adjust to that small change, we'll be able to find additional time. I think a lot of it is also about making time rather than finding time. I just kind of caught myself saying finding, but generally when something's important to you, you make time for it. So usually if someone tells me they don't have the time for something that can really improve the quality of their life or really improve their business or their role as a leader, I ask them, do they have time for what can happen if they don't make time for this? So for example, if you don't make time for your health, do you have time to be in the emergency room? Do you have time to be in the hospital for a few days? Or if you don't make a particular change, do you have time to lose money because you didn't want to implement that change? Or do you have time to now have to hire new team members because morale is low and you're losing members of your team? So usually when people kind of think about what can happen if they don't make the time for things, they're able to kind of shift and move some things around and make time for it, and they're able to determine what they value most and find a way to fit that into their schedule. So I hope that answers your question, and I hope that helps a little bit.
It does, thanks.
Right. So here is my quote to end our little chat about wellness, which is, to keep the body in good health is a duty. Otherwise, we shall not be able to keep our mind strong and clear. So when you think about wellness, just think about the benefits that come with it. And it really does allow you to have a sharper mind, to see things from a clearer perspective. It changes your energy level. It changes how you feel, and that changes how you interact with people. If you're rested, it changes your performance level. So you really need to think about what the outcome is, and it will allow you to make pockets of time to focus a little bit more on wellness. All right, engage in service. So a few things that happen when you engage in service: you're able to develop new insights. You're able to build confidence. I know when I work on different service projects, it allows me to feel a little bit more confident, and that helps me with the work that I do. You're able to help others and understand the needs of others a little bit better. It helps you shift your perspective on certain things. I think when you become a part of a cause that means a lot to you, you're able to learn things that maybe you didn't know before, and it really shifts how you see things a little bit. And that shift in perspective can help you in the workplace and kind of shift some of your thinking when it comes to the decisions you make as a leader. Engaging in service can definitely transform your own life, particularly if you're able to find a cause that you're really passionate about and it means a lot to you. It has a transformative impact on your life, and it strengthens communities. And as a business, if you're a business owner or if you work for an organization, or if it's just the community that you live in, strengthening the community should be important to you. And not just your local community, but honestly, strengthening our global community should be important to you. And when you're able to consistently engage in service, it allows you to do that. And all of these things in terms of helping others and building confidence and shifting your perspective and just making you a better person does ultimately make you a better leader. So I think that that's very important to keep in mind. Help others and give something back. I guarantee you will discover that while public service improves the lives and the world around you, its greatest reward is the enrichment and new meaning it will bring to your own life. So that's really just what I said. Just thinking about the meaning and how it will enrich your life if you're able to give to others and improve the lives of those who are around you. So I have two more that I'd like to share with you. One is to try something new. So we did a poll and we asked how many of you have tried something new recently, and 75% of you said that you've tried something new in the last 6 months. So I think that that is pretty good. And the reason trying new things is so important is because it builds confidence. It helps you develop new relationships. So when you try something new, it's typically something that you've either just never experienced. Sometimes it's something you have some fear around, or something that makes you a little bit uncomfortable. But when you step out of your comfort zone and you try something new, new relationships can come from that. It allows you to conquer fears. We talked about fears earlier. And we also asked the poll question about when was the last time you did something that you were afraid of. And I think 58% of you said in the last 6 months. So trying something new is a great way to conquer fears that you have. It helps you develop new ideas, because when you're in a new setting, in a new environment, you're meeting new people, and you're doing something you haven't done before, it often sparks a new idea. I know a lot of ideas I've had for my business have been the result of me participating in something that I've never done before, or me trying something that I've never done before. Trying new things can help you get unstuck, and it can also help you get to know yourself a little bit better. So when I try something new, it really does help me kind of get out of, if I'm in some sort of like funk, or if I feel just kind of stuck and I'm not sure like what I should be doing next. Trying something new is usually a great way for me to kind of, you know, spark those creative juices, build my confidence, conquer a fear that I have. So an example of something new that I've tried recently is actually doing video. Video is not something that comes to me naturally, and although public speaking I'm very comfortable with, video has made me incredibly uncomfortable for quite some time. So I'm just now getting on the video bandwagon, and I started this summer doing videos, and it actually has allowed me to know things about myself a little bit better, to come up with new ideas, and it's opened up the door for new opportunities for me. So we keep moving forward, opening new doors and doing new things, because we're curious, and curiosity keeps leading us down new paths. So I have to say, for myself, doing video has actually opened up the door for new opportunities for my business. It's allowed me to grow as a person, and it's allowed me to kind of tap into what was that fear about anyway. So see, like right now, I'm okay. I don't feel like, I think I'm gonna be okay. So I think when you kind of push out of that comfort zone and you're able to make yourself try something new, it really can enhance your life in some way, and it can help you develop a skill set that will take your business to the next level. So if there's something new that you've wanted to give a try, it could be, maybe you have an issue with video too, because I think that's a common issue for a lot of people. Then, you know, take a stab at video, or maybe it's an activity or an experience or some type of training or an event or a trip or whatever it is. Go ahead and give it a try. And sure, it may not mean that you're going to love it, but I guarantee that you will learn something from it, and that it will enhance your life in some way. So I may never love video, I don't know, but I realize though that sometimes you just have to learn to be okay with the discomfort, and you will grow from that. So sometimes I think we want to do something with the ultimate goal of being 100% comfortable doing it, but I don't know that we always get there, but we grow through the process, and we'll become better people and better leaders, and I think that's the most important part. And then finally, engaging in cultural experiences. So engaging in cultural experiences allow you to form connections, and you'll see that's been a common theme with a lot of these personal changes, is really the connections that you can form, because I do believe that forming relationships with people really does allow us to form better, stronger, more meaningful relationships with our team members, and it does allow us to be much better leaders. Different cultural experiences allow you to learn new things. It allows you to understand how others view the world. And I want folks to keep in mind that understanding does not mean agreement. So you may not necessarily agree with how other people view the world, but as long as someone's view is not harmful, and it's not hurting the organization in any way, it's not hurting you, then I think we have to learn how to get to a place where we can understand why someone has the view that they have, even if it's not necessarily the view that we share. You can build better community relations. You can come up with ideas and ways for your organization to have a global impact. Engaging in cultural experiences allows you to be more culturally sensitive, and I think that that's very important, because when you're in a leadership role, I think it's so easy for us to have good intentions, but to potentially say something or do something that may offend someone from another culture. And it's not because we wanted to do that, but it may just be that we don't have knowledge about a particular culture or about a particular topic. So I think the more we engage in different cultural experiences, the more knowledge we have and more we're able to build relationships and have conversations, open conversations with people so that we can grow and learn from that. And I think it also increases opportunities for personal and professional growth. I know usually when I step outside of what's usual for me, and I go to an event or I go to another state in the United States or I leave the country, those have been some of the most meaningful experiences of my life because I've met people and I've learned so much about how other people live and about their cultures and about their worldview and about what they think about our country or what they think about my culture or how I see the world. And I think it has had such a strong impact on me that I think it is something that if everyone takes just a little bit of time to engage in more cultural experiences, and it doesn't always have to mean traveling outside of the country or necessarily traveling outside the state. I think if you can do those things, that's great. But there are tons of opportunities just within our state of Maryland where you can really expose yourself to different cultures and learn more about other people. So the more we can take advantage of those opportunities, the better it is for us. An individual has not started living until he can rise above the narrow confines of his individualistic concerns to the broader concerns of all humanity. So this quote is a very powerful quote from Dr. King, and I think it speaks to how if we can just kind of step outside of our bubbles and understand and learn more about the concerns of others, it makes us better in so many ways. So, will all of these things really make you a better leader? I think that's a good question to ask. So I think it will, because when we're no longer able to change a situation, we're challenged to change ourselves. So if you have something going on with your organization, sometimes you may not be able to change the current situation that you're in, but what you always have the power to do is change yourself. So if you feel like that there are changes that you can make that will potentially make you a better leader, that will help you maybe see things from a different perspective, that will help you come up with ideas you weren't able to generate before, then I think you can then put yourself in a position where you can become a better leader. So when we work on all of these personal changes, it's really about us having these new experiences and then leveraging those experiences to become better people and better leaders within our organizations. So you don't have to make all of these changes at once. There might be one particular point that I focused on that you feel like you want to change more than others, but the truth is making these changes will absolutely help you. So a few quick tips for creating lasting change. The first is take action. Oftentimes we attend workshops or we watch webinars or we do different things, and then we kind of take all the great information and our notes and we keep it in a book somewhere and we never reference it again. But pick something, just one thing that I mentioned today, and take action and take a step forward, and that will be your first step towards change. Pursue one change at a time. I mentioned this earlier. I think trying to pursue too much at once is a sure recipe for failure. So if you want to start making some changes, choose the area that is most important to you right now and try to pursue changes within that one specific area and make a small change. Don't try to go from not working out at all to now I got to go to the gym for 60 minutes, 5 days a week. I think it's too much of a jump for a lot of people and it sets you up. Take small steps. Do it daily. Try to focus on the rewards. So if you have rewards for yourself, then it makes you a little bit more likely to stick to your goal so that you can accomplish it. Be kind to yourself, even if you've done something consecutively for 5 days and then you kind of stop doing it for a week. That doesn't mean you can't restart and go back to it. Change is not easy, and it's very, very difficult to form new habits. So you have to show yourself some grace and be kind to yourself and know that even if you slip up, you can always start back if it's something that's truly important to you. Find an accountability partner. So whether that's someone on your team, someone else you know who's in a leadership role, or someone that you care about or that you love or that lives in your home, find someone that will hold you accountable, that you can share your goals with, and that you can speak to and that can help you reach your goals. And finally, take note of the positive. So we can retain negative things forever, but we don't focus enough on what's positive. So if you see small changes from sleeping an extra hour every night and you see that it's impacting your life in a positive way, take note of that and focus on that. And then once you're able to do that consistently, see if you can either add another hour of sleep or if you can move to a different change that you want to implement. But take note of all the great things that you're doing and all of the positive impact it's having on your life. So I hope all of these tips to help make you engage in personal change to become a better leader have helped you. I'd love to answer any questions if anyone has questions. So let's see. Are there any questions, Libby?
Okay, I'm going to get back on here. Okay, well, I have one personally while we're waiting for a couple more questions to come in.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, one of the things that you talked about was how these personal changes can make you a better leader.
Mm-hmm.
And also think that as leaders, we're role models for others.
Mm-hmm.
So as I'm thinking about all these things you're talking about, I'm thinking baby steps. Like you're saying, don't try and do too much too soon, or you're set up to fail if you're trying to do everything. But as I'm picking out a couple of things, I'm thinking about how I can be a better role model for members of my team as well, particularly when it comes to wellness and the cultural, broadening the cultural perspective. I think that's important in Carroll County because we have opportunities, and I think that we don't necessarily take advantage of them the way that we should, but I can see where that would really add a value to an individual.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what you mentioned about kind of modeling it for your team, I think it's so important. As individuals, I think it's easy for us to kind of set expectations and then not realize that we're not living up to those expectations ourselves. And it's really hard to get people to kind of follow your lead and buy into your vision if you're not living up to it. So like for me, the first example that comes to mind is like as a parent, how many times do I want my kids to eat a certain way or do a certain thing, and then you always want to make sure your kids are playing outside so they're getting enough exercise and all of those things, but then we neglect to do those things for ourselves. So I think same thing goes with leadership, that the more we can focus on improving ourselves, we're modeling that for our team, so it makes us better, it makes the team better, and the organization better ultimately.
Right.
Yeah.
Very good. Now, Michelle, we have a question.
Yeah, so we have a question from the audience, and the question is, how do you see the connection between the leader trying something new and possibly failing, and the others in the team observing that? I think that's a good question, actually.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think for me, part of leadership is being able to fail and embrace that. I think typically what you perceive as a failure is generally a great learning experience, and it's an opportunity for you to figure out what not to do. It's an opportunity for you to determine if you should go in a different direction, and it's an opportunity for you to learn what you should do differently if you attempt to do the same thing again. So I know for me, I've generally had the most respect for leaders who are able to kind of step outside their comfort zone, try something new, and be okay with the possibility of failure. And if there is a failure, being able to own that and kind of sit with the team and try to assess where did we go wrong. Because if you don't take risks, you're not going to grow as an individual, and your organization will not grow. And it's inevitable that with risk will come some failure. But I think if you just kind of change, I think failure has a negative connotation, but if you just kind of change how you look at failure and look at it more as an opportunity to learn and to grow, then I think you will be more likely to embrace new things, and your team will have a lot more respect for you if they're able to see that you were able to try something new, do your very best at it, and you're able to openly discuss the failure. And it will also make your team members feel more comfortable with generating new ideas and sharing that with you, and allowing them to kind of release the fear of failure that they might have. So I hope that helps.
Yes, and leaders, there's a myth, right? Leaders are not perfect, right?
No.
And so being able to make mistakes and be accountable and open about them is an important leadership skill.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so we do have another question. We have a question about wanting to know who your most influential leader or role model is.
Wow.
Put me on the spot there.
Yeah, that did put me on the spot. I mean, I have some kind of, I guess what you would call celebrity figures or entrepreneurs that serve as role models, but I'm actually going to reference the second full-time supervisor that I ever had when I worked at George Washington University. He actually still works there, and we're still friends. And he was the type of leader that actually, what I just mentioned, he would try new things, and when he failed at something, he would own it. He would talk to us about it openly, and we would discuss what went wrong and what can we do to change it. And I remember when I first started working with him, I'd come from experience where the leader was one of the not so great leaders, and she did a pretty good job of making the whole team feel bad about what we were doing and who we were, to be honest. So when I first started working for this new person, I would second guess myself all the time at meetings, and I would say things like, I don't know if this is a dumb question, and one time he sat down and talked to me about it, and he had a conversation with me about trying to help me build my confidence and telling me that I shouldn't second guess myself all the time, and even if I'm wrong, it's okay. That's what part of the learning experience is. And I think he just had a leadership style where I felt like I grew a lot. And I was able he exposed us to new opportunities. He allowed us to make mistakes. He allowed us to challenge him. And that was a very important lesson, because I come from an environment where you shouldn't challenge the boss. But I remember challenging him on a number of issues because he made it clear that that was okay. And I think I grew a lot from that experience. So yeah, I think he had the most significant impact on me as a leader. And it's probably why I'm still friends with him today.
Any other questions? Stereo. No, okay.
Well, this is great. Thank you so much for having me on for PowerBrew. I had a great time, and I hope I was able to share some useful tips with the audience.
Well, we appreciate your time and your expertise, and I know I've got several things that I took from this that I'm going to apply back in the workplace, and that's what these PowerBrews are all about. They're about helping you personally and professionally grow, to our audience out there, and to bring value to you, to bring things that you can use and take back to the workplace and use right away today. So I think that we got that today, and I really appreciate your time and your input.
Thank you, Libby. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks everyone for joining us.
Thank you. And so the next PowerBrew will be October 17th from 9 to 10 a.m. As you know, they are always the third Tuesday of the month. And we'll be getting details about that PowerBrew out to you as soon as possible. Thanks, everybody, for attending. And again, have a great day, and try and use a little bit of what you learned today to help you on the job and help you be a more effective leader.